Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I want to go over a few things with you over this NYCE PPO plan. We've received a bunch of questions from various groups of people that are concerned about where all of our concerns are coming from, as there's several groups now expressing concerns over this plan. So in the true fact of fact checking, we want to bring those facts to you so that those doubters who don't understand why there's a concern being expressed by multiple organizations now and employees for the first time, it's a freaking miracle, that they understand exactly why we have these concerns. We've always said that on the face, this plan looked like a good plan. The concern wasn't the design of the plan itself. It's what was under the hood. It was what we couldn't see that was in the redactions of the almost 40 pages of this contract. And that still hasn't been shared. So we want you to understand where some of these concerns are coming from. And in the next couple of days, we're going to start sharing with you just specific single issue points on audio. You heard me with the audio that we revealed on our website, which is on the homework page, I guess about halfway down, where a fire officer and president of the UFOA, the Fire Officers Union, literally talks about his concerns and his members' concerns and his officers' concerns over the plan, especially that there was a welfare fund. There was a fund called the Stabilization Fund, which you guys are probably don't want to hear us talk about anymore, that talks about the funding. And the city had kept saying that the funding has to be kept up, and the unions weren't keeping up with it. Then they tried to sell Medicare retirees healthcare off in order to fund that fund, which in the last MLC meeting on September 30th, they admitted for the first time that they've been trying to destroy this fund. There was only a handful of people in that room that were angry when they heard that, because it was an admission that had never been heard before. And one of the union one of the union delegates, and you'll hear that in one of the next audios I do, actually states, I believe you intentionally destroyed this. And then no one ever backtracks him. No one claps back anything that he said. So I want to tell you, for the first time, they did admit this. And I said this to you, like, I think September 30th or October 1st, that they admitted in that meeting that their intent was to destroy that stabilization fund, while lying to everyone that they were putting us into Medicare Advantage to finance that fund that financed their health care. Now, I also want to share with you two other things. There's been litigation with the MLC and the city. There's arbitrations. There's actually two pending. And one has to do with the PICA plan, that there's no funding. The city's been eating the cost of PICA, which was coming out of stabilization. And if you remember back, I think it was it 2005 or 2009, they had actually taken psychotropic and asthma medications out of PICA, and they put them back in the welfare fund. So stabilization was only covering injectable and chemotherapy. Now, what was happening was the fund was costing a lot of money with just those medications alone. But the city has been picking up that injectable and chemotherapy for the last couple of years because there's been no money in the stabilization fund to cover it, okay? Now, the other arbitration has to do with the 2014 and 2018 MLC agreements. And if you remember, the 14 agreement was to give the United Federation of Teachers, UFT, the $1 billion to give to the city, and then gave every one of the unions in the MLC that agreed to this monies for their welfare funds. That was the quid pro quo. You give us this $1 billion to do our contract, and then we will give all these other unions a little bit of money for their welfare funds. How no one saw that was an attempt to drain the fund, knowing that the fund was going to have less and less money in it every time they used it. No one caught on to this. And then in 2018, it was Henry Garrido's turn, DC 37. He does the 2018 deal. And then that year, that MLC agreement, recurring savings $600 million, and of course the 2014 deal, recurring savings of $1 billion under Michael Mulgrew, is what was draining everything. And that they couldn't keep up with the savings, that the savings weren't being met. So now the city is saying, you didn't meet your agreements. The 14 and 18 agreements are over. You haven't shown us the recurring savings. We want our money. And that was actually turning into $4.8 billion. So now if I'm telling you that the city and the MLC have two cases that are concurrent on arbitration, one over the 14-18 agreement not being met, the other over the PICA plan, what kind of pressure do you think the unions were under in the Municipal Labor Committee's leadership to come up with cash to fund this agreement, or they were end up going to have to pay? So in one of the audios you will hear soon, you will hear the tripartite labor chair, Alan Klinger, literally tell the members, we had to do this deal, this NYCE PPO, because if we didn't, the city was forcing us to arbitration over the 14-18 deal that they allege failed to meet the savings benchmarks, and the PICA arbitration. And the unions would have had to pay up to that $4.8 billion. Where do you think that money was coming from? You guys. Each and every one of you. They were going to have to assess costs or raise dues or both in order to make that money come, because the unions don't have $4.8 billion. So I want to show you that there really is litigation between the city and the MLC, and that the city is claiming that the unions owe it. And I want you to see that right here. All right, right here, number 24. To date, the MLC owes $4.8 billion due to its breach of the recurring savings obligations of the HBA's health benefit agreements. Prospectively, the damage resulting from the MLC's breach of the health benefit agreements to over $1 billion per year. Now, they're telling you right here that they are owed. The city says it's owed $4.8 billion. This is literally from the court's website. So if you go up to the New York State Court electronic filing system, NYCEF, and you put in Municipal Labor Committee, sort it by date to most recent, you will see this case. So that's why this is important. This document is, document number 30, and it was literally filed May 16th of 2025. And just in case you guys don't believe me, let me come back up here. You literally see this here says document number 30, filed May 16th, and that this is the matter of the Municipal Labor Committee by its chair, Harry Nispoli, against the city of New York. So I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you that the MLC agreements from 09, from 14, from 18 have all accumulated a debt that the city is saying that they did not meet. Now, if you were a smart person, you would say, geez, what the hell's wrong with them? I mean, there's they've got really bad odds. Like this wouldn't even fly in Las Vegas. They did an 09 agreement. They did a 14 agreement. They did an 18 agreement. They failed at 03. What the hell are you telling me they're doing a fourth one and I'm supposed to get behind this? Now, I'm also telling you that the stabilization fund also paid the welfare fund benefits for the widows, widowers, and children who lost their loved one in the line of duty. The cost of that, $3 million. That's it. $3 million a year. It is a pittance among like a $6 billion healthcare plan. But this is what angered many of the uniform unions, because they were now being told, we're not covering this. And I'm so sorry that you're a person. Actually, they weren't even nice about it. The MLC letter was really nasty, that they weren't going to pay this and they had no obligation, even though that person's loved one died in the line of duty serving the city of New York. They didn't care. And the unions, because many of them are small, and there's also a lot of people now this is covering, not just from 9/11, but from all line of duty incidences and their children's. And remember, these plans are welfare fund plans are supposed to cover these people, their young ones, until they're 26 years old. You remember when a lot of people have died in the line of duty, they had babies. So this is going to be a long-term plan. This is not something the unions can afford, which is why it came out of this fund and why it was important to protect it. So I've now told you the $1 billion is in this plan. It is. And yet you have no details of where those agreements are going to, where that savings is supposed to be dedicated, what's going to happen if it doesn't come to fruition. You see the result right now from this court case and then the other one that talks about the unions owing the city because their savings agreements, HBAs, failed to yield what they said they would. And every time they said, and this agreement is projected to save blah, blah, blah. And they're doing it again. Alan Klinger in the meeting on September 30th, and the projections are looking like we'll save more than what they're projecting. Really, because you said that 3 times before already. And why no one's calling them out on this, I just don't know. So I talked about the $1 billion built into this, that you don't know what will happen if those savings aren't met. What are the triggers and where is it coming from? Is it going to be more prior authorizations to delay and deny care? Is it going to be in the form of a copay? Is it going to be in the form of a deductible? Now, many retirees that are under 65 non-Medicare on this, that would be on this plan in Florida, have been reaching out to us saying, well, right now we're paying about $3,000 a month for Aetna. Who gives a shit? Really? Well, let me tell you. We have retirees that were told that they would have a $15 copay. Those $15 copay per visit have now turned into a maximum of up to about $65 a visit, between office visit, radiology, blood work, doctors reading the radiology, facility charges. They can't afford this. Many of them are in debt up to their eyeballs because they can't pay the copays. Now, those are $15. You probably won't see anything in this plan till well past the 12th month. So after the first year, between years 2 and 5. And then what will happen? If they're not reaching their benchmarks, you will end up paying. There's got to be a trigger somewhere that will raise a deductible, raise a copay. And that copay could be $15, $20 today, but year 2, 3, or 4, I bet you that copay will go up to 30, 40, or 50 bucks. And then your deductible will be increased because they're not meeting the benchmark. And then, of course, the other trigger is that the insurance companies had to put up a percentage, like 60% of their fee, to make sure the benchmarks are met. You really think an insurance company is going to want to lose 60% of their fee? No. They're going to make sure they keep their money, and then in order to make up the savings to the city, you will be paying, because every time the Municipal Labor Committee tried to do something in the past, they were implementing another copay, which is why HIP and GHI both had the copays that they did, which was primarily urged at the pressure of the United Federation of Teachers, Michael Mulgrew. So the unions all said to us, every time that they needed to find more money, Mulgrew would come in, or Jeff Sorkin would come in and say, we need to find more savings, we need to find more copays. And that's what they did. Because they figured you wouldn't see it piecemeal and you probably wouldn't feel it either. So that's the arbitration. Tells you the pressure that they were under to get out of that $4.8 million debt. And Alan Klinger in this meeting on September 30th literally says, if this plan doesn't go through, those 2 arbitrations are on the table, and so's the $4.8 million debt. They did the same thing in pushing this plan through that they did with Medicare Advantage. We have to do this to fund the stabilization fund. It's the same mistake. It's the same fear-mongering. Meanwhile, you have a group of retirees that are living nationwide without having a network doctor, and they're constantly out of network, or don't go without care, or they come back to New York for it. It's frustrating to them because they want the network. And some of them are going, we don't give a damn what kind of costs we have. Well, they should give a damn, because it's coming if what's under the redaction is what we're saying it is. The other issue is that they agreed to save $100 million is giving up unredacted drug data from the 5 unions. They needed to provide at least 75% of the unions unredacted pure drug data, which means name, sex, height, weight, whatever, address, zip code, illnesses, drug refills, etc. They want everything that your welfare fund collects on you. The other unions, especially the uniformed unions,
thought that was scary. They said it was unprecedented that they would ever be told that they would have to release drug data from their members to the Municipal Labor Committee, unredacted, and to 2 insurance companies. Well, 3 if you count the drug plan. Who agreed to it? Michael Mulgrew, United Federation of Teachers, Henry Garrido, District Council 37, Gloria Middleton, CWA 1180, Greg Floyd, Local 237, and we believe Harry Nespoli did from sanitation workers, because those would make that 75%. So if you haven't heard from your union saying that they're going to share your unredacted drug data from the welfare fund to the city of New York, to the insurance companies, Emblem and United, Prime Therapeutics, and the Municipal Labor Committee, you guys had better start making phone calls if you're in one of those unions, because that's exactly what they're going to do. And we said to the other unions, and we said to them too in an email, you start this trend to save $100 million, then they will pressure the other unions that don't want to do that to do it. And then there'll be some other thing pressuring them that they need to have more money and more savings because they're not being met, and they want the rest of your personal information. Is it illegal, Anne-Marie? I believe it's a violation of HIPAA, because it was not told that you would ever have to share that with the Municipal Labor Committee, which is another union person. They were even talking about finding a way to scramble it and then unscramble it. Like, that's ridiculous. They should never have been sharing this to begin with. And this is why we keep saying, yes, the network that they're dangling in front of you like a glittery, sparking, rhinestoney carrot is a beautiful thing to have. But if you don't know what the cost is to you, you're making a grave mistake. You need to know what those savings are. So, and then you'll hear in another video I will do is talk about the stabilization fund. Contractually, there's $35 million supposed to be going into it. And that's every year. They negotiated that in 1986 and they never changed it. Where's that money going? That answer doesn't come through. So I want you to understand that we've raised a lot of concerns. And even today's date, you could put in a zip code. I put in my zip code. My hospitals are not showing up here, and neither are many of my doctors. So when you want to talk about the people who are complaining the loudest and screaming that they have to have this, 1, they haven't checked the full database. 2, they don't care that it doesn't serve everyone. All they care about is it serves them. And this is the same mistake that they made the last time. And it's coming from the same people that are said, well, it helps me. Who gives a damn about all the rest of you? We have to worry about all of you. Well, if you want to complain about the drug data, you have to call your union or your former union in which you get your welfare fund from, if it's one of those 5 unions, okay? And the $1 billion. So that's another important document. Let's talk about the $1 billion really quickly. So here's the proof. So in this document here, which I know you could probably barely see, it actually says that the city is expecting in this RFP that was done December 16th of 2022, which is this plan, that the city wants to save 10%. Comprehensive program, professional, facility, prescription drug, all supporting programs provided through a single entity. With 2024 total expected plan cost, that would save at least 10% off the $10.51 billion per year cost to cover the current members. Okay. So when I'm telling you that this here lays that out, it literally says that is what. So you can see that's actually bolded in this print, 10% of the $10.51 billion. You could see that down at the bottom. I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you this. Everything we've given is facts. And so I want you to understand, you have to know what's in the details. You have to know what's in the redacted contract. You have to know what's in the details they're not telling you. The devil's always in the details. Thank you, Ebeth. I just had my hair done yesterday. So I kind of feel Mary Tyler Moore-ish today. All right. So I love you guys. I've had a really long day, back-to-back meetings, and I am exhausted. I love you. Have a great night. Share this video with all of your active worker friends. They need to know what's in the details. I haven't said, our board hasn't said, our attorneys haven't said we are filing a lawsuit. We've said we're exploring all of our options and we're trying to see what we have the power to fix. And of course, the people who have the most power in this to fight back is the active workers, because healthcare is a mandatory subject of bargaining. They haven't seen the contract. They didn't vote on it. Their leadership barely even had an opportunity to bring the contract back to their membership. And look, the United Federation of Teachers Healthcare Committee voted to support this plan on August 28th without seeing the contract. And then they reviewed it for 2 hours in their union hall, unlike any other union, because they did not have that ability. The UFT reviewed it a month later in their union hall for 2 hours. They don't know what they don't know. And this is what we want you to know, what they didn't even ask about. And these were the details. I showed you the RFP, the 10%. I showed you the lawsuits that are there, and that Alan Klinger from the MLC said they have to do this or they would be subject to paying back the city $4.8 billion and those 2 forced arbitrations for the 14-18 deal in PICO. Where's my mic drop? There you go. I'm out. Have a great night, guys. See you Friday. Ciao.